the official start to our wonderful Friday evening service. And again, it's always hard to know when Zoom starts. So I think we're on Zoom. Welcome, everybody. Shabbat Shalom. Welcome to Congregation Israel's Mikveh Israel's Friday night service. As always, we have a wonderful group of people who are going to be participating tonight. And as always, you're all welcome to participate whenever you want, either if you're watching it on Zoom or if you're on YouTube for next week. So this weekend or tonight, we want to say hello and thank you to Margie and Flo and Glenn and Caton and of course Kelly and Terry and Jules and then Herbert and Teresa. And then I have somebody else who I'm not 100% who is on, but I have Eva's iPad. So welcome to whoever Eva's iPad is. We hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful weekend out to everybody. Shabbat Shalom. As always, we're going to turn into our Mishkan Tefillah prayer book. But first, I'm going to invite everybody to say Shabbat Shalom at the beginning. So anyways on Zoom can just unmute themselves and say Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shalom.
And we're going to go ahead and go into our prayer book now. So again, you can go online. And let's get to it. Let's see here 1 second. I think we lost it for a second. Let's stop sharing. We lost the prayer book. I'm going to get it up right there. There it is.
Please refer to both pages, but sometimes you don't.
I will try and remember that. I'll do as best I can. So our first page is going to be on page 2 or 120, as we're going to go ahead and sing the prayer for lighting the candles. Page 2 or 120. As I'm going to turn it over here so everybody can see it. I'm going to light them and I'm going to invite Caton to sing the prayer after I've lit them.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu l'hadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen. And thank you again, Caton, for participating so often. We're now going to go back into our prayer book and we're going to turn to page 7 or page 125. So 7 or 125. If you're wondering why there are 2 different page numbers, for those of you who do not know, the prayer book actually has a longer version with Shabbat weekdays and holidays and a shorter one with just Shabbat. You can also find it online, which is the website we send out as the Reform Movement has graciously let us use it for free online. We're on page 7 or 125 as we're going to invite Margie Levy to read our opening prayer.
Where has this week vanished? Is it lost forever? Will I ever recover anything from it? The joy of life, the unexpected victory, the realized hope, the task accomplished. Will I ever be able to banish the memory of pain? The sting of defeat, the heaviness of boredom. On this day, let me keep for a while what must drift away. On this day, let me be free of the burdens that must return. On this day, Shabbat abide. Help me to withdraw for a while from the flight of time. Contain the retreat of the hours and days from the grasp of frantic life. Let me learn to pause, if only for this day. Let me find peace on this day. Let me enter into a quiet world this day. On this day, Shabbat abide. Amen.
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 And we're going to go now and turn to page 25 or 143, as I thought we had a wonderful footnote there that I'm going to invite Teresa to read for us. That may not work that way. Can you read it? Or is it too small?
Yep. I've got it on my iPad.
All right. Thank you.
And so we understand that ordinary people are messengers of the Most High. They go about their task in holy anonymity and often even unknown to themselves. Yet, if they had not been there, if they had not said what they said or did what they did, it would not be the way it is now. We would not be the way we are now. Never forget that you too, yourself, may be a messenger, perhaps even one whose errand extends over several lifetimes. From Lawrence Kushner.
Thank
Oh,
you
that's
very
cool.
much. That was a beautiful reading.
It
As
is.
we turn
It
back
really
to
is.
20. Thank you very much. As we're going to sing the prayer Lachadodi, welcoming the Sabbath bride. Kelly, are we singing 1, 2, 5, and 9, or just the refrain tonight? So we're singing the refrain on page 20. Together, Lachadodi.
Lecha dodi, likrat kala, panei Shabbat nikabla. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, panei Shabbat nikabla. Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom ulmevorach. Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom ulmevorach.
Thank you, Kelly. And we're going to sing yet another of our Sabbath prayers, what we call oldies but goodies, as we're going to go to page 24 or 142, and we're going to sing Shalom Aleichem.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon. Mi melech malachei hamlakim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boikem l'shalom, malachei hashalom, malachei elyon. Mi melech malachei hamlakim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Barakuni hashalom, malachei hashalom, malachei elyon. Mi melech malachei hamlakim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Seitchem l'shalom, malachei hashalom, malachei elyon. Mi melech malachei hamlakim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Beautiful. Thank you, Kelly. As we're going to go to page 29 or page 147, as we're going to have a translation from the Baruch Hu. Before we sing the Baruch Hu, for those of you who are new to our prayer book, there's often a Hebrew prayer and then 3 options for English prayers. We usually read 1 Hebrew or 1 English. So it seems like we're skipping pages when we're not. So I'm going to invite on page 29, Herbert, to lead us in the prayer before the Baruch Hu.
There is one who sings the song of his own life, finding everything within himself. There is one who leaves the circle of herself and sings the song of her people. There is one whose voice rings with the song of humanity, hoping for the highest perfection. And there is one who rises even higher, uniting all creatures with all worlds, filling the universe with song. Nevarech, let us bless.
Now we'll turn to the previous page, page 28 or 146, as we're going to invite Kelly to lead us in the Baruch Hu, as it is the call to worship, the official opening. We traditionally rise for this prayer, but as we say each week, we know we're all sitting in front of computers and iPads. So I'm going to invite everyone to rise, but we're going to leave it for yourself if you'd like to stay seated for it. Again, page 28 or 146.
Baruch Hu Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Leolam Vaed.
Thank you, Kelly. As now we're going to turn to page 31 or page 149, as we're going to read the prayer for creation, as I invite Margie to lead us.
Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars, creator of the tide of time and light. You guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai our God, from whom the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai, Hamariv Avarim. Amen.
Amen. And we continue on page 33 as we're going to invite Glenn to read our prayer, thanking God for the love God bestows upon us at the top of the page.
As you taught Torah to those whose names I bear, teach me Torah too. Its mystery beckons, yet I struggle with its truth. You meant Torah for me, but did you mean the struggle for me too? Don't let me struggle alone. Help me to understand, to be wise, to listen, to know. Lead me into the mystery.
And we continue now on page 34 as we invite Kelly to lead us in, of course, Shema.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad.
Thank you so much, Kelly. And we invite everyone who's standing to please be seated as we turn to page 36 or 154, as we're going to invite Keaton to lead us in Ve'ahavta.
Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha v'kol lebavka v'kol nafsheka v'kol meodecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ed asher anochi mitzavcha hayom al bavavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'tibartamam v'shiftacha beitecha u'v'lektacha b'derek u'v'shachbaka u'v'kumecha u'kshabtam leod al yadecha v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha u'ktabtam al mezuzot beitecha u'v'isharecha Leman tizkeru ve'atzitem et kol mitzvotai v'hitem kedoshim le'elohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim v'hiot lachem le'elohim ani Adonai Elohechem.
Thank you, Caden. Beautiful. As we're going to invite Herbert to read the alternative translation on page 37 or 155.
Love your God with every heartbeat, with every breath, with every conscious act. Keep in mind the words I command you this day. Teach them to your children. Talk about them at work, whether you are tired or whether you are rested. Let them guide the work of your hands. Keep them in the forefront of your vision. Do not leave them at the doorway of your house or outside your gate. They are reminders to do all my mitzvot, so that you can be holy for your God. I am Adonai your God. I let you out of Egypt to become your God. I am Adonai your God.
Thank you, Herbert. As we're going to turn to page 39 and invite Terry to read our prayer redemption found at the top of the page. And you're still on mute, Terry.
Standing on the uncharted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, and the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together.
Thank you. And we're going to go ahead and turn to page 342 or 646, as it is Debbie Friedman's. I thought it was a couple weeks ago, but I read somewhere it was a lot of synagogues are celebrating this weekend, or not celebrating, but remembering her as we honor her memory on the 10th anniversary of her passing. So we're going to sing first Miriam's song, and then we'll go back to Micha Mocha. So again, page 342 or 646, our prayer of freedom by Debbie Friedman.
And the women dancing with their timbrels followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to the one whom we've exalted. Miriam and the women danced and danced the whole night long. Miriam was a weaver of unique variety. The tapestry she wove which one which sang our history. With every strand and every thread she crafted her delight. A woman touched with spirit, she dances toward the light. And the women dancing with their timbrels followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to the one whom we've exalted. Miriam and the women danced and danced the whole night long. Miriam stood upon the shores and gazed across the sea. The wonder of this miracle she soon came to believe. Whoever thought the sea would part with an outstretched hand, and we would pass to freedom, march to the promised land. And the women dancing with their timbrels followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to the one whom we've exalted. Miriam and the women danced and danced the whole night long. Miriam the prophet took her timbrel in her hand, and all the women followed her just as she had planned. Miriam raised her voice in song, she sang with praise and might. We just lived through a miracle, we're gonna dance tonight. And the women dancing with their timbrels followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to one whom we've exalted. Miriam and the women danced and danced the whole night long.
We turn to page 140 or 158 as we sing in Hebrew, Micha Mocha.
Micha Mocha Bailim Adonai, Micha Mocha Nedor Bakodesh, Moratehira, Osefele, Moratehilod, Osefele.
Thank you, Kelly. On page 43 or page 161, we find our prayer Hashkivenu, as we're going to read it in English tonight at the top of the page. And I'm going to invite Glenn. Would you read that, please? 43 or 161. And you're still on mute, Glenn.
Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up waiting to do your will.
Amen. Thank you. As we're going to turn the next page, 44. And at the bottom, we find our prayer for the Sabbath, Yismechu.
Yismechu b'malachutaka, shomrei, shomrei, shomrei Shabbat, v'korei oneg Shabbat. Yismechu b'malachutaka, shomrei, shomrei, shomrei Shabbat, v'korei oneg Shabbat. Mekadesheh, Mekadesheh Shvi Shabbat. Kulam yisbu v'yitangu mituveka Shabbat. Yismehu b'malekuteka, Shomerei, Shomerei, Shomerei Shabbat v'korei onei Shabbat. Yismehu b'malekuteka, Shomerei, Shomerei, Shomerei Shabbat v'korei onei Shabbat. Uvashvi ratzita bo v'kidashto Shabbat. Hemdat yamim oto karata Shabbat. Yismehu b'malekuteka, Shomerei, Shomerei, Shomerei Shabbat v'korei onei Shabbat. Yismehu b'malekuteka, Shomerei, Shomerei, Shomerei Shabbat v'korei onei Shabbat. Zecher Lama'aseh Bereshit Shabbat. Zecher Lama'aseh Bereshit Shabbat. Yismehu b'malekuteka, Shomerei, Shomerei, Shomerei Shabbat v'korei onei Shabbat. Yismehu b'malekuteka, Shomerei, Shomerei, Shomerei Shabbat v'korei onei Shabbat.
Thank you, Kelly, as we're going to invite Teresa to read the translation for Yismechu at the bottom of the page.
Those who keep Shabbat by calling it a delight will rejoice in your realm. The people that hallow Shabbat will delight in your goodness. For being pleased with the seventh day, you hallowed it as the most precious of days, drawing our attention to the work of creation.
Thank you. As we turn to page 48, as we're going to chant the Amidah on 48 or page 166, and then go to page 50 or 168 as we're going to chant the Gevorot. I invite anyone who'd like to please rise.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei Avoteinu v'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah. Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibur v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei Ha'akol, V'Zocher Chasdei Avot B'Ima'or, U'Mevi Yola L'Bnei B'Neim, Aman Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshiach U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Be'ezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechayeh HaKol Atah Rav Le'Yoshia, Mechakel Chaim B'Chesed, Mechayeh HaKol B'Rakamim Rabim, Somek Nofelim V'Rofei Kolim, U'Matir Asurim, U'Makayim Emunato, L'Shenei Afar, Michamacha B'Givuro, U'Mido Melach, Melech Memit U'Machayeh U'Matzmiach Yeshua V'Ne'eman Atah L'Hachayot HaKol Baruch atah Adonai Mekayeh HaKol.
Thank you. As we turn to page 53 and invite Terry to lead us, page 53 or 171 at the top of the page.
Days pass and the years vanish, and we walk sightless among miracles. God, fill our eyes with seeing and our minds with knowing. Let there be moments when your presence, like lightning, illumines the darkness in which we walk. Help us to see, wherever we gaze, that the bush burns unconsumed, and we, clay touched by God, will reach out for holiness and explain in wonder how filled with awe is this place, and we did not know it.
Thank you, Terry. As we're going to go to page 55, and there at the bottom of the page, we're going to invite Flo to read our prayer for the Sabbath. And everybody may be seated, by the way, if you're standing. Page 55 or page 173.
Disturb us, Adonai, ruffle us from our complacency. Make us dissatisfied with peace of ignorance, the quietude which arises from the shunning of the horror, the defeat, the bitterness, the poverty, physical and spiritual of humans. Shock us, Adonai. Deny to us the false Sabbath that gives us the delusions of satisfaction amid the world of war and hatred. Wake us, O God, and shake us from the sweet and sad poignancies rendered by half-forgotten melodies and rubric prayers of yesteryears. Make us know that the border of the sanctuary is not the border of living, and the walls of your temples are not the shelters from the winds of truth, justice, and reality. Disturb us, O God, and vex us. Let not your Sabbaths be a day of tempor and slumber. Let it be a time to be stirred and spurred by action. Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat.
Thank you, Flo. As we're going to turn now to page 57 or 175, as we're going to invite David to read our prayer. I'm sorry, page 50. Yeah, David to read. I'm sorry, page 57. We're going to have, David, please read our prayer. Let's say I had it right at the bottom of the page.
Okay. You are with us in our prayer, our love, and our doubt, in our longing to feel your presence and do your will. You are the still, clear voice within us. Therefore, O God, when doubt troubles us, when anxiety makes us tremble, when pain clouds the mind, we look inward for the answer to our prayers. There may we find you, and there find courage, insight, and endurance. And let our worship bring us closer to one another, that all Israel and all who seek you may find new strength for your service. Baruch atah Adonai, she'otcha levadcha b'yirah na'avod.
Thank you, David. As we're going to go to the top of the page, as we're going to invite Jules, our wonderful South Carolinian representative, to lead us in Eretz.
Eretz Adonai Eloheinu, B'yamecha Yisrael, U'tefilatam B'yahava Tikabel, U'tehi l'ratzon Tamid Avodat Yisrael. Yisrael Amecha, Baruch atah Adonai, she'otecha levadecha b'yirah na'avod. Anavod.
Thank you, Jules. It's wonderful to have you singing with us here in Georgia. We're going to turn down to page 59 as we're going to invite Flo to read our prayer of thanksgiving, page 59 or 177.
Okay. When we behold your heavens, the work of your fingers, the moon, the stars that you set in place, when are we humans that you are mindful of us? You're mortals that you take note of us. You made us little less than divine, adorn us with the glory and majesty. You gave us dominion over your handiwork, laying the world at our feet. How majestic is your name throughout the earth. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov samcha ucha na'ahada.
Thank you. And we're going to conclude the Amidah on the next page, page 60 or 178, as we're going to invite Jules to sing our prayer of peace in Hebrew, Shalom Rav.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. V'tov beinecha levarech et amcha Yisrael. B'chol leidu b'chol sha'ah b'shlomecha. Baruch atah Adonai hamevarech et amo Yisrael b'shalom.
Amen. As we'll invite David now to read the translation for our prayer of peace on the next page, 61 or 179.
Grant us peace, your most precious gift, O eternal source of peace, and give us the will to proclaim its message to all the peoples of the earth. Bless our country as a safeguard of peace, its advocate among the nations. May contentment reign within our borders, health and happiness within our homes. Strengthen the bonds of friendship and fellowship among all the inhabitants of every land. Plant virtue in every soul, and may the love of your name hallow every home and every heart. Praised are you, Eternal One, who blesses our people with peace. Baruch atah Adonai hamovarach et amo Yisrael. I can't read that last word.
Shalom.
Okay.
Amen. Thank you, David. If we're going to turn to page 253 or page 371, as in the middle of the page, we find another one of Debbie Friedman's beautiful songs. This is, of course, our prayer of healing, as we send our thoughts out to all those in need of healing, including Christopher Roscoe, Justin Robichaud, Hillary Swagger, and Masha Hanna. If anybody on this call has any name they'd like to add, or anyone out there listening on YouTube, we invite you to say their names aloud or privately.
Elaine Coleman and the Coleman family and Carrie Leaf.
Together in the middle of the page, we invite Kelly to lead us in our prayer of healing, our Misha Berach.
Misha Berach Avotenu Before Habracha Imotenu, may the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Misha Berach Imotenu Makor Habracha Avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Thank you, Kelly. We're now going to invite everyone to take that moment of private meditation, and then we'll continue as we'll invite Kelly to lead us in Lechilach. We now continue with Lechi Lach, which you can find on page 341 or page 645.
Lechi Lach, to a land that I will show you. Lech Lecha, to a place you do not know. Lechi Lach, on your journey I will bless you, and you shall be a blessing. You shall be a blessing. You shall be a blessing. Lechi Lach, Lechi Lach, and I shall make your name great. Lech Lecha, and all shall praise your name. Lechi Lach, to the place that I will show you. L'simchat Chaim, L'simchat Chaim, L'simchat Chaim, Lechi Lach, and you shall be a blessing. You shall be a blessing. We shall be a blessing. Lechi Lach.
Thank you, Kelly. As always, beautiful. We're now going to take a moment to see if anyone wants to mention anything they're celebrating. I know Kelly wants to mention something because I saw it yesterday or the day before. What would that be, Kelly? You're still on mute. Let you know.
So Sushi just keeps, she just keeps doing great things and surprise. And I just keep watching. So she was on the news. She was on the WSAV news segment, and they had a live stream. They had an article and a video and an interview all about Sushi and all the things that Sushi's doing with their musical that just got produced on Broadway Records. So I just keep sitting back and being a proud mom.
Being in awe. That's awesome. Does anybody else want to share anything with us? I know Herbert and Teresa are having something exciting tomorrow.
Yes.
Yes, we are. Shot number two.
All right. Congratulations. So that will
And
be
all of the
tomorrow.
others of you keep hanging in.
May it go smoothly and you have no reaction to it at all.
Hope not.
Thank you.
Anybody else have anything they'd like to mention? All right. So let's go ahead and say Shechianu Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Shechianu v'kiyamanu v'higyanu
Lasman Hazeh.
Blessed are you, eternal God, ruler of the universe, who creates us and sustains us and brings us to times of great joy, as we say, Amen. So happy Shabbat, happy week of Tubashvat, of course, the birthday of the trees. Now, many people know this holiday, but many people don't. It's actually kind of a minor holiday. It's not mentioned in the Bible. Tubashvat just basically means the 15th of Shabbat. And really, it was never that big of a holiday. At one point, it was, the date when Jewish farmers were going to bring their offerings to the temple. But in the 16th century, the Kabbalists, as so often was the case, decided that they would create something called the Tubashvat Seder, based obviously on the Passover Seder. And so they created the Seder when we ate nuts and we ate fruits and we celebrated God's world. We ate carobs, obviously, and fruit that came from Israel, pomegranates. And it became a lot of fun. You drink 4 glasses of wine, starting with one color, white, going all the way to red. They created a Haggadah for it in the 18th century. So it was really fun, but it didn't become a major thing outside the small group until the 20th century. And that had a lot to do with the new immigrants in Israel celebrating Tu B'Shvat years before the country was even established. And as Tu B'Shvat is really the holiday of trees, and as Israel was defunct of any trees 120 years ago, we all gave our donation to JNF through the years. Israel bloomed, and Tu B'Shvat became a very important holiday in America, as well as Israel, as well as other places, mostly because we were sending money to build to plant trees in Israel. And as the years have gone by, it's continued to be important as it becomes more of an ecological holiday, because obviously GNF still does a lot of important work, but there are a lot of trees in Israel right now, so they're not suffering in the way that they used to. So when we think of this holiday today, whereas 60 years ago would have been more of an Israeli celebrate Israel holiday, as 40 years ago, it would have been more of a holiday where we send money to plant trees in Israel. Today, it has become more of an ecological holiday. And I'm going to go over some of the citations we find in Jewish literature and in our Bible and in the Talmud as to what it speaks about when it comes to trees and the environment. And obviously, the most famous passage dealing with trees, and it's not the Lorax, that's second in the Hebrew Bible, is from Deuteronomy. When you besiege a city in making war against it, you shall not destroy its trees by forcing an axe against them, for you may eat of them, and you shall not cut them down. For is the tree of the field a man that it should be besieged by you? In other words, you're in the middle of sieging a city during war, and what are you not allowed to do? You're not allowed to cut down trees, especially fruit trees. So what we see throughout the Bible is that the earth has been given over to human beings' absolute ownership, that we can use this gift or we can abuse this gift. And that's become the theme of Tubashvat. Where else do we see this idea of preserving the environment? Obviously, the fallow year, where every 7 years you're not supposed to plant or you're not supposed to glean. I mean, you're not supposed to harvest and let the land just rest for the year. And that's a way to encourage the land to rejuvenate. Maimonides, in the Guide to the Perplexed, says that the fallow year is there so that the earth shall increase its yield and recover its potency. So even 1,000 years ago, they knew that. And we probably believe they knew that 2,000 or 3,000 years ago. There are prohibitions against waste in Judaism. The attitude that nature is to be seen as something of importance. And so we shouldn't purposefully destroy anything, whether it's animal, vegetation, or anything inanimate. What else do we read about in other places? And it's extended throughout Jewish history: human waste. It is forbidden to withdraw within the camp or to any chance place in the open fields, but is a positive precept to set aside a special place for the purpose, not to destroy or the water supply. Same thing with sewage. Nobody has the right to open his drains or clear his cesspits in the summertime. It may only be done in the winter. Because of odors, understanding that carrion and graves and tanneries must be 50 cubits from town. That's in the Mishnah, just to keep away from the smell. And also they understood probably some sort of health concerns. Now, what's really interesting is there are prohibitions against air pollution, which is really quite amazing because air pollution is so much more the deal today than it was thousands of years ago. But a permanent threshing floor had to be kept also 50 cubits from the town for that reason. And there was also regulations against too much smoke, that you're supposed to stay 50 cubits away from the town for any type of smoke to be used. The same thing with water pollution. If you're going to dig a cistern or a water hole for public use, there must be no mud or excrement on his feet. So in other words, drinking water must be very far away from any other type of thing you're doing. So these are the issues and the questions and thoughts that are brought up with Tubashvat today, as it has transformed from a small holiday where you probably brought your, fruit to the temple, to a holiday that celebrated this mystical idea of seeds and fruit, thanking God for trees, to what we had in the world in the 20th century, this Israeli holiday celebrating the rebuilding of the country, to what we have today, which is more of an ecological holiday that really comes into play in the modern world when we're dealing with all these issues. So I know we already celebrated Tubashvat, but we hope you had a nice week. We hope everyone is safe and sound, and we hope everyone is getting their inoculations soon, as Herbert and of course Teresa. So Shabbat Shalom again to everyone. I'm going to read a prayer real quick, a short one, more of a reading from Arthur Waskow about Tubashvat. The breath of life, of course, that is God's name. We breathe and the trees breathe. We breathe in what the trees breathe out. So we breathe each other into existence. We and the galaxies and the arrays of science and the codes of laws and the plays of music, we are breathing each other into existence. And the breath, of course, goes in cycle. Beautiful saying. We're going to now return to our prayer book as we're going to turn to page 282 or page 586. 282 or page 586. Again, all our best for the weekend. I'm going to invite everyone who'd like to please rise as I invite Kelly to lead us. Aleinu at the bottom of the page.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, l'tet gedolah leotzer bereshit, shelo asanu kigoye ha'aratzot, velo samanu k'mishpachot ha'adamah. Shelo sam chelkenu kahem, v'gor aleinu k'kol hamonam, va'anachnu koreim, u'mishtachavim u'modim, lifnei melech malchei hamlakim, hakadosh baruch hu.
And everyone who is standing, please be seated as we're going to turn to 287 or 591 as we're going to invite Jules to lead us in the end of Aleinu v'ne'emar.
V'ne'emar v'haya Adonai l'melech al kol haaretz v'yom hahu yiyeh Adonai echad u'shemo echad u'shemo echad.
Thank you, Jules. As we're going to turn to page 291 or 595. At the bottom of the page, we're going to invite Kate to lead us in the prayer/song, There Are Stars, also known as Yesh Kohavim.
There are stars up above, so far away we only see their light. Long, long after the star itself is gone. And so it is with people that we love. Their memories keep shining ever brightly, though their time with us is done. But the stars that light up the darkest night, these are the lights that guide us as we live our days. These are the ways we remember. We remember as we live our days. These are the ways we remember. We remember. Yesh kochavim she'oram magia artza, רק כאשר הם עצמם עבדו בעינם. יש אנשים שזיו זכרם מאיר, כאשר הם עצמם אינם עוד בתוכנו. אורות אלה המבהיקים בחשכת הליל, הם שמתירים לאדם את הדרך, הם Shemarim la'adam et haderech. As we live our days, these are the ways we remember. We remember.
Thank you, Caton. As we turn to page 295 or page 599, we think of our loved ones whom death has recently taken from us, those who died at this season years past, and those who we have drawn into our hearts with our own. We honor the memory, as we do each week, of the men and women who gave their lives defending our country as members of our armed forces during the previous weeks. We honor the memory of those who died during the last year or so from COVID-19. We remember the Artside anniversary of Bernard Adler, Eva C. Bick, Dorothy Coleman Cohen, Jack Cohen, Phyllis Denmark, Doris Lippman Falk, Bernice Wolf Harris, Ruth Hochberg, Celia Agronet Kane, Amy Lemberger, Muriel Hazeman Levine, Leona Zerman Mirsky, Samuel Pinkerson, Sarah Polanskaya, Ruth S. Reinhard, Leanne J. Schwab, Theodore Spitalnik, Dorothy Steinheimer, Herbert Teplin, and Ruth Smith. And we also take a moment to honor the memory of Preston Russell as we send our thoughts out to his family as he passed away this previous week. Does anybody else have the name of anyone they would like to mention? If you're at home or watching on YouTube and you'd like to mention someone aloud or privately, we invite you to mention their names. As we turn to the previous page, page 294 or 598 for the Kaddish praise, and I invite anyone who'd like to please rise. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, v'yamad yivrach yiruteh, v'yamlich malchuteh, v'chayachon uv'yomechon uv'chayedechol beit Yisrael, b'galav izman kariv v'yimru amen. Yehi shmei rabbah mevarach v'olam me'almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'par v'tramam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shemei dekudusha brechu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tush bechata v'nechamata, tamiram v'yalma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Osei shalom b'mamav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. May the one who creates harmony and high bring peace to all Israel and to all who mourn, as together we say, amen. Thank you again, everyone, for participating. As for announcements, on Sunday at 3 o'clock, we will have our annual meeting. It is going to be both on Zoom and YouTube. The information has gone out. That is for members. The only thing we do that's just for members. So we look forward to seeing you there as we will welcome in the new board of Adjunta and our new president. Thank you to Charles Harris, whose presidency will end on Sunday. It's been an absolute pleasure, and we wish you all the best. Same to Lisa Elkins, who is finishing her term on the board. Thank you for all you have done. We look forward to celebrating, though, also with our new board members and our new president and our new executive officers on Sunday. As for next month, we'll have a lot of the programs coming up that we've had, the continuation of the Tuesday study sessions, the Wednesday interviews, the Friday study sessions, Friday stories, Friday night services, Saturday service. Will also, at the end of February on Friday night at 5:30, the last weekend, we will have a Purim spiel / presentation by kids and adults. That is going to be sent out to anyone who would like to participate. We'll send out your parts and then invite everyone to join us on Zoom for that. Does anyone else have any announcement they'd like to make while you're on the screen or on the Zoom call? All right.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody. I've got to
Shalom.
go.
I'm now going to put everyone on gallery view. Invite you to say Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Shabbat Shalom, y'all.
Shalom.
Again, thank you to Margie, Flo. Thank you, Teresa. Thank you to Herbert. Thank you to Glenn, Caton. Thank you to George, Terry, and David, and of course, Kelly. We're going to conclude our service with a special prayer song for trees. It's called Let's Plant a Tree in Eretz Yisrael. as I'm going to invite Kelly to lead us. It is, I'll put it on the screen, it's not in the prayer book. Let's plant a tree in Eretz Yisrael. Kelly, would you please lead it?
Yes, this song is by Judy Kaplan Ginsburg, another one of our really prolific Jewish folk songwriters who wrote a lot of wonderful things, both for children and just for congregations, and they're really easy to follow. Let's plant a tree in Eretz Yisrael. Let's plant a tree in Eretz Yisrael. Hey, Etz, Be'eretz Yisrael. Hey, Etz, Be'eretz Yisrael. Then comes the sun in Eretz Yisrael. Then comes the sun in Eretz Yisrael. Hey, Shemesh, Be'eretz Yisrael. Hey, Shemesh, Be'eretz Yisrael. Then comes the rain in Eretz Yisrael. Then comes the rain in Eretz Yisrael. Hey, Yored Geshem, Be'eretz Yisrael. Hey, Yored Geshem, Be'eretz Yisrael. Our tree will grow in Eretz Yisrael. Our tree will grow in Eretz Yisrael. Hey, Etz, Be'eretz Yisrael. Hey, Etz, Be'eretz Yisrael.
Thank you, Kelly. And again, thank you to everyone for participating in our service. We're going to go back to our prayer book, though, as we're going to say Kiddush and Motzi. You can find the prayer for Kiddush on page 5 or 123. Page 5 or 123. If you have wine or grape juice, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratza b'anu, v'shabbat kodsho v'ahava uvratzon chinchilanu, zikaron l'maaseh v'reishit, ki hu yom techila l'mikra'ei kodesh, zecher l'tziat Mitzrayim. Kivanu v'charta, v'yotanu kidashta, mikol hamim, v'shabbat kodshecha, v'ahava uvratzon, chinchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat. Amen and l'chaim. And then, of course, we have the most famous challah in the world, Lazarus, who will pretty soon be a year old. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Again, everyone, all the best for the weekend. I'm going to put everyone in gallery view, as I was on gallery view. Everyone say Shabbat Shalom again, as we'll invite Kelly to sing us out.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Everybody have a good weekend and a good week.
Shalom in Eretz Yisrael.